Hey, shalom, shalom. Blessings to all of you who find this video. Hope that you are all enjoying the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I hope your Passover was good. I hope that you guys are all really connecting with the Most High during this feast. It's been a beautiful time for me and my family. We're very grateful and thankful for the people that we've been able to fellowship with already during this feast. But today I kind of wanted to make a video. Been doing a lot of thinking about the rise and fall of empires, right? And you can correlate this with anything, whether it's an empire, a nation, your community, a business. They all follow this same cycle. And at the end of this video, I'm going to include a video by Professor Zhang, I think is how you pronounce his name. A very informed professor on history. And he kind of show you a different perspective than what I'm about to talk about, so that way you kind of get multiple angles. But if you ever do any amount of reading, I encourage you to look at I think it's an essay, and it's called The Fate of Empires, and it's written by a guy named Dr. Glubb. I don't remember his first name. But in there, he talks about, the different stages that a nation or a group or a community or cult, church, whatever you want to call it, will go through as it rises and then as it falls. And the beginning is, everybody's heard this, where strong men create good times create weak men create bad times, and then the cycle continues. Hopefully I said that right. And when you look at the fate of empires, it's really about you having a group of people who are very unified. They have a very strong sense of belief in either the Most High or some sort of deity, and religion kind of brings them together. And because they're poor and, not a full nation state, the people are very inventive. They're very, have a lot of grit, I guess. And then they go out and they conquer. And so they're kind of in like a conquering phase. The men are really resilient. Families are really close-knit together. The family structure is really important. The community aspect is also important. And once they conquer an area, then over a period of time, what ends up being put into the children of the next generation is to become merchants. And trade starts to be initiated, and people start trading amongst each other. Then one nation starts trading amongst another nation, and as the process goes on, the country becomes wealthy. And so no longer is it about survival and being unified and sticking together in order to thrive. The economy is good, and so that generation, the merchant generation, will then pour into the next generation to be intellectuals, because we got all of our needs met. It's not so much about, the grittiness and planting gardens and, doing stuff with cattle and agriculture. We got enough money to survive. Our economy's doing good. Now we can pursue intellectual stuff. So that's what happens. Then the intellectual generation, when they become, philosophers, you got the people who are, really involved in, extra learning, colleges, stuff like that. And then their generation will teach the next generation stuff more about being like entertainers, right? Because we got the intellect, we got the money, we got the land, we got the defenses and stuff. We've already achieved all those stages. So then once you get to that stage where the people, like what you see in America today, that those who get propped up and who have the highest status becomes the people who are no longer the warriors. It's no longer the merchants. It's no longer the intellectuals. It becomes people who are involved in entertainment. So you got your singers, you got your rappers, you got your actors, you got your entertainers, football players, basketball players, all that, right? Stuff that like literally doesn't matter. Once that stage hits, then the age of decadence comes into play, where people are more concerned with pleasures than actually stuff that's meaningful and stuff that's actually going to help the society to flourish. And once you hit the decadence age, everything kind of goes downhill from there. And, another nation who is at the beginning of this cycle will then be the ones that, because they're so full of grit and tenacity, will take over this nation in order to have that lifestyle that they see that they have. And so this cycle just repeats. You've seen that with Israel, number one in the Bible, and you see that with the Syrians, you see that with the Egyptians, you see that with the Babylonians, you see that with the Roman Empire. They all rise and fall the same way. In America, it's pretty much going through the same route. And why do I keep my mind on this and focus on it? Well, I've asked a lot of people, how do you not continue the cycle? How do you instill in your family, in yourself, and in your community a way to not just do that cycle? Is it possible to have all of those things at once, where you've poured into your children and stuff like that to be warriors, and also to be focused on being industrious and doing trades and making something and being productive, and also focused on being intellectual, and also have time for the pleasures that are within life? Not all pleasures are evil, and everything needs to be done in balance. Is it possible to create a group or a society or a community that has those? And nobody that I've asked that question to has been able to give me a good answer. And maybe one of you who sees this video would be able to fill in the blanks of the information that I just don't have. I don't have the answer. I've heard people say before, just never get away from the conquering stage. And I kind of see like that's what America does. As long as you just keep beating the war drum and keep conquering, well, maybe you can continue to extend your power a little bit longer. But it's just stuff to think about, as I consider the cult that I once was a part of, and I had seen them go through this transition. And now, I mean, when you listen to this video I'm going to play here in a minute by that professor, you will see that they are already on the decline stage. They just don't see it themselves. And it's not going to come from an outside entity. I mean, it could. It probably will play a part. But the major problem of it is the structure that is within it. I learned a lot from Straitway, and that I can't deny. And a lot of times when I'm making videos, I'm talking about the stuff that wasn't good, but I did learn a lot from them. Learn about deliverance, learn about the Holy Spirit, learn about healings, learn about those things. But when I look at their actual structure of how they run their economy, how their structure is with the people that they're over, it mirrors these totalitarian groups that soon fail after they go the direction that they're going. And I tried to bring that to them. I tried to give them the information. I tried to talk to Kabir about it, hoping that they wouldn't go down this road. And I honestly don't think that they have studied history in the proper way that they need to, as a whole, and seeing it from a bigger bird's eye view than just these little nooks of history, because they're repeating the same cycle that we've seen over and over and over again. They're repeating the same cycle of Stalin or of Hitler or of any of these totalitarian regimes that will eventually fail. You cannot have a group of people controlled by one person and it not lead to a total collapse from within. It's just not going to happen. And that's why these dictatorships will fail. If you take upon yourself the Leviathan system, your system is destined to fail because of the truth. The people at power want to consolidate power, want to keep power and hold power. And as long as they can do that, they can make their mission go forward. But what ends up being the blockade is the people begin to realize that their leaders are not open to new ideas. Their leaders are not open to change. Their leaders are the stubborn, the exploiters, the manipulators, and the wolves in sheep's clothing that they warn the sheep about. The ones that are supposed to be protecting the sheep are actually the very things that they're telling the people to look out for. And I think one of the biggest tests that man will ever have to face is to have a leader that is in front of you, and something happens with this leader where they become wicked. Satan gets, involved in them, and they don't know it, and are now becoming somebody that is going to lead you down the path of hell on earth, literally hell on earth. And they will tout it by preparing your mind that we're going to have tribulation, that these things are going to happen to us, and it's all going to be a sign that we're on the right side. So they're conditioning the mind of the people that are listening to them that their system is eventually going to fail. But it's not because of them, it's because of the outside that is affecting them. When all reality, they're just putting a smoke screen, and it's really their decisions and what they're doing that's causing the problem. When I look at Straitway and I look at Dowell, he's a lot like Donald Trump. And you see the war that's going on in Iran, and Donald Trump is telling you one thing: it's not that bad, we're winning, we're destroying them, we're doing all this stuff. And then you look at alternative news networks, and it's like everything that Trump is saying is lies in order to keep the general public from turning to chaos, going to the stores and raiding everything. If you told the people the actual situation of war, they would freak out. And I think that's the same thing that's going on with Straitway. I think Dowell sees it. The leaders of Straitway see it. Some of the people also see it, that this thing is on a downward slope. And once it starts happening, it happens so quick that it's like the rug being pulled out from under you. And I think a lot of people in America are going to be surprised when they see this stuff with Trump in the war. And I think it's a good reflection of what we see within Straitway. The same exact thing is going to happen, where the people who are so lockstep with it and believe in this false utopia that these leaders are telling you, where it's, if you want to be free, then you need to be my slave. That false ideology that comes from these communist mindsets has possessed these leaders and is leading you down the same path that, like, Trump is leading Americans down against Iran. It's the wicked, demonic ideologies of the leaders that will cause the biggest cannon fodder for the people who support them. And unless you know what ideas that they hold true to, you won't understand the ideology that fuels these people. Are they being controlled by a desire for power? Are they being controlled by a desire for money? Are they being controlled for an actual desire to help the people and support the people? Well, all these things are clearly seen by the actions of these people. Clearly seen. And if you can take off your blinders for a moment and take off the glasses that you wear for a moment and actually look at the person who you are following and see whether or not you are idolizing the image that they wear, the mask that they put in front of it, or do you actually see this person for who they truly are, and you understand the motivations that are driving this person? Because people are possessed by ideas. Ideas possess people, good ideas and bad ideas. When you have an idea, you have also emotional responses to those ideas that either propel you towards it or propel you against it. And the ideas that you agree with, you form a relationship with whatever spirit gave you this idea. And it will then compel you to make certain decisions to carry out this idea. So I say people are possessed by ideas. They seem to have their own thoughts. They seem to have their own motivations. They seem to have their own emotional sets when people grab onto these ideas. And so what I really encourage you to do is to understand the ideas and the ideologies of the people that are in front of you, and to see whether or not it actually aligns with what you believe from what you have found with what Yeshua taught, and line that up with what's in the rest of the book. And if you find yourself to be out of unity between what you believe and what you think the book says and what your leader is supposedly doing, you really need to check to see whether or not the motivations are off. You might have evil motivations within you, and that clouds your judgment of how you see your leader. But in the same aspect is, your leader might have evil motivations and evil ideas within them that they call good, that maybe are good for the short term, but in the long term will end in destruction, is completely dysfunctional. You really need to take that information and process it and see, if it's not me that's the problem, then this person is leading me down a bad path. And what is the end of this? Is the end of this freedom, or is the end of this me being a bondservant and a bond slave to somebody else's ideologies that do not come from the book? Do not put yourself into a slave-master relationship. The word tells you not to. It tells you if you have the opportunity to be free, to rather take it, and to be ye no more slaves to men. You have one master in heaven, and that's Yeshua HaMashiach. He is your only master. And let Yah be in your life and bless you on the stuff that you sow and that you reap. And I hope that this encourages you. And now, here's a video that I talked about. Let me know what you guys think. I want to hear feedback. Bless y'all. Shalom, shalom.
And discuss what is it that allows societies to rise and fall. So we'll look at three phases: the rise, the decline, and the collapse. Okay, so when I mean decline, I don't mean like things are getting worse. I mean things aren't improving, okay? So rise is when things get better, decline is when things are stagnant or getting slightly worse, collapse is when society is about to fall apart, okay? So if you look at these three particular phases of society, there are different characteristics. When society rises, it is first and foremost open. Open just means that you have opportunities for social mobility in society. If you're a poor person, you can make money. You can become wealthy. Your talent is appreciated. It's a meritocracy. It's innovative. If you criticize society, people are like, thank you for criticizing us, because criticism makes us better people. Okay, there's open debate. Now, what's really interesting is most young societies are open societies. Okay, so for example, in the 1950s, America was a democracy, right? China was communist. But this is really interesting. In the 1950s, they were both open societies. You could criticize leaders. In fact, you were encouraged to criticize leaders. China was as democratic back then as the United States. Okay, so it's not about political systems. It's just about the what stage you are in social development. So if you're young, you're going to be open. You're going to be democratic. You're going to be meritocratic. You want to learn, so you'll listen to criticism. Okay, that's the first great characteristic of a society on the rise. It's openness. But when you reach a decline phase, guess what? Society becomes bureaucratic. Okay, bureaucratic. Why? Because if we go back to this model, as a company loses more and more money, the managerial class is concerned with maintaining their jobs. So they become bureaucrats. Okay? They have to prove their worth. So they create a lot of paperwork. They make everyone follow the rules. Society becomes more and more bureaucratic. Then in the collapse phase, society becomes authoritarian. Okay? Before decline, it's not following the rules. Now it's just ruled by force. Okay? But there's no way of saying this. In the rise phase, what matters is the consent. Okay? So these three groups, the elite, the middle class, and the people, they're all working together to improve society. There's consent. But when you hit the decline phase, now it's your deception. And then when you hit the collapse phase, it's coercion. So let me give you an example. Let's just say we are in the rise phase, right? Well, we want to go to lunch. So we discuss where we go to lunch. I'm going to McDonald's, but you guys want to go to Pizza Hut or KFC. We have a debate, and then eventually we vote, and whoever wants to go, the majority wins, okay? That's consent phase. When we hit the decline phase, deception, I'm the teacher, so I say to you, hey guys, let's go to McDonald's because Wang Fei will be there, or Jack Ma will be there, or it's free hamburgers today, okay? I'm lying to you to get what I want. And then in the collapse phase is, I say to you, I'm the teacher, and I will beat you up if you don't listen to me, okay? So in the rise phase, what matters first and foremost is unity of the people. We're all working together. There's empathy. There's concern for other people. I want to be a friend. We need to work together to make society better, okay? But in the decline phase, it's really about stability. It's about making sure that society maintains the status quo, okay? When we reach the collapse phase, it is survival. Screw you. I want to live, and if I have to kill you, I'll kill you. All right? So this is a map that shows us what happens when society rises, declines, and collapses. Now, what's really interesting about this is the timing, okay? So if you actually look at societies, the timeline, it goes like this, okay? There's a steep rise, the decline is slow, and the collapse is sudden. So people think, oh, decline, things get worse, but we follow this trend, we'll still be here, but actually the collapse happens really fast. Why? The reason why is this system cannot survive external shocks. So external shocks is a perfect storm of crises. So another way of saying this is, maybe society prepares for, okay, if there's a plague, we'll do this. If there's a climate crisis, we'll do this. If there's a drought, we'll do this. If there's a war, we'll do this, okay? What society is not prepared for is these things happening all at once. The plague, the drought, war, revolution, they all happen at once. It's a perfect storm. And that's what leads to the collapse, because society is not prepared for this. Okay? And why is society not prepared for this? Because when you hit the authoritarian phase, you're not allowed to criticize the system anymore. The problem are those who speak out. The problem is those who point out the problems of society. In the rise phase, those who criticize society are the heroes. They are appreciated. They are rewarded. In the collapse phase, those who speak out are the enemies of society. And therefore, society cannot be prepared for any external threats, which leads to its collapse. Any questions?